What are you addicted to? Staying up way too late. Making up the worst scenarios in my head. My phone. Sugar and caffeine. I pick at my skin compulsively. Hopelessly looking for distractions from the crushing reality of my life. What's the worst mistake you've seen someone do in their job? Saw a guy get zapped pretty bad when he stuck a tool in the wrong place on a big dryer at a hotel where I worked. We had asked him if he should cut the power first, and he said NAWW. Don't need to. For a moment after, we thought he was dead. Not sure if this counts, but during my first internship at a chemical plant I was given the task of reading through safety violation reports and sorting them. This turned out to be way more interesting than I initially expected, as the reports were riddled with accounts of sheer stupidity in the workplace. Here are a few of the most memorable incidents. A woman accidentally glued her own eye shut after trying to reattach a fake nail with industrial strength heavy-duty super glue and then subsequently rubbing her eye. Someone somehow accidentally mixed an acidic compound from an unmarked bottle into their beverage and drank it. Not as much stupid as it is fascinating. A man working atop some scaffolding forgot to attach his safety harness and fell from 20 feet onto his back. The report stated that he stood up somehow okay after falling from that high and came back to work the next day good as new. Newish employee deleted the root directory for the SFTP server. Took the server guys about a day and a half to fully restore it. With all files since the previous night backup lost, same employee did the exact same thing again a few weeks later. Still had a job when I left. Somehow. Taught preschool for 8 years before the pandemic. It's protocol to count the children before moving from one room to another to make sure no one gets left behind. Had a coworker on her phone. Didn't count kids. And had left behind a child in the toy closet. Kid was 2 years old and trapped, screaming and crying in a dark toy closet for 20 minutes before a teacher passing by the empty classroom heard her. My coworker didn't even get a slap on the wrist and management never told parents. This same coworker forced her class of 2-year-olds to get dressed themselves for outside play in the winter, so one time a little girl ended up playing outside in the Minnesota snow without boots on for 10 minutes before my coworker noticed. There was a company in rural New York in the late 1960s that took scrap metal, melted it down in big coal-fired crucibles and made home decor pieces, doorstops that looked like little dogs, bookends, that kind of thing. Not a huge profit margin, but their materials were cheap and they had a steady market. An industrial consultant convinced them to transition to electric furnaces, significant upfront expense, but much lower ongoing operating costs. The consultant even designed the new electric crucibles for the company. The company president had been thinking of expanding operations, so asked the industrial consultant to double the size of the electric crucible designs. The consultant did so, but made a mistake with the cube-square law in designing the supports for the crucibles. The first time the double-sized, but about 4 times as heavy, crucibles were filled with scrap and fired up, they collapsed, flooding the factory floor with molten pot metal and chunks of wrecked equipment. The company went straight to bankruptcy. Before retiring, I was a branch manager for my state's DMV. Suddenly, one of the other managers is off sick for a few days. Then it became a week. 2 weeks. Then, the auditors completed their investigation, and she was gone. Turns out she was accepting bribes from aspiring truck drivers so they would pass the written test. She was taking in an additional $100 minus $250 a week. The dumb part? The pay was decent, and the benefits were fantastic. So she gave up decent pay, fantastic benefits, and a really nice retirement for extra spending money. Then there was the assistant manager who would pocket anywhere from $750 to $1,500 a week. So a better payoff. But she was removing it from the day's cash receipts. She had only ever worked for the DMV. Working her was up from clerk. She had no idea that there are accounting systems within accounting systems the bank would send over deposit discrepancy reports which she would blithely pitch, not realizing that the same exact report was also sent to our central office. The wheels of state government turn slowly. So she was able to do this for over a year. But once those wheels start, they do not stop. She ended up going to prison and ordered to pay over $30,000 in restitution. The full manager also got fired because the investigation revealed that he was rarely in the office and left everything up to the assistant manager. What's the best Christmas movie of all time? Muppet Christmas Carol. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. 1966. Jingle All the Way. Hear Me Out. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger playing a man named Howard Langston while using an Austrian accent. Jake Lloyd pre-Anakin Skywalker. The late and beloved Phil Hartman playing a single father ladies' man. Arnold fighting black market Santa Clauses, including mini-me actor Vern Troyer. A fake bomb threat, followed by an actual post office bomb which explodes and is never mentioned again. The greatest line reading ever. Put that cookie down. Quote, Arnold being Iron Turbo Man 10 years prior to RDJ and the start of the Marvel trend. Arnold stealing his neighbor's gift. Fighting a reindeer who discovers him in the house. Accidentally starting a fire. Ending with kicking a flaming head from the nativity scene through a window towards a bunch of Christmas carolers. Home Alone 1 and 2. Scrooged. The blend of comedy and heartbreak, the pacing, the performances. Top tier. Subscribe, my brothers.